sports programming schedule, including a Best of Clinton Maroon sports broadcast and CBS Sports Radio. We'll bring you every Panther game start to finish right here on Central Illinois' news, agriculture, and sports station, WHOW.
Make this school year their strongest yet. Book your child's back to school or sports physical today at SIU Center for Family Medicine in Lincoln. Keep them healthy, focused, and ready for success. Find out more by clicking their icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
From the newsroom of Regional Radio and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this expanded morning newscast. Good morning and thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Ben Hubbard. The news is brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, as well as by Connexus, offering fiber internet in Clinton. Click their icon on DeWittDailyNews.com to find out more. At the Tuesday night Clinton Board of Education meeting, the board heard from school leadership about the continued plans for restructuring Lincoln and Douglas schools to combine grade levels. On the WHOW Morning Show Tuesday, Superintendent Drew Goebel told the Hart Media Group the board was updated on those plans and believes they are getting to a point they need the board to approve moving forward with permanent plans to have this ready for the next school year.
We're kind of at the point that we need the school board to approve the move if we keep going, because we can't decide this in April. Because there's then, I mean, honestly, April, May, summertime, school starts. I mean, there's just not enough time. So we're getting close to that point that we're gonna we're doing it or we're not doing it. And I told this publicly to the school board last night. If the school board says we're scrapping this idea, I take my direction from those 7 people. And if they say scrap it, we're not doing it, so be it. If they said Drew and the rest of the committee, go for it. We like this idea. I am in favor of it. I wouldn't have gone down this road if I didn't think it was in the best interest for students and staff. I feel that both students and staff will be more supported. Right now, you kids currently go to school based upon where they live. If you live here, you go to Lincoln. If you go here, you go to Douglas. It's called the neighborhood school. What we are proposing is what is called an attendance center.
According to Goebel, the idea of combining grade levels to one building has been talked about for many years, and last year it was finally acted on by the Board of Education and school leadership.
Last year, we had board approval to just start looking at to create a committee that we would, because right now, if you're not familiar with the structure of the school, half of the kids in the district that are in kindergarten go to Lincoln School, and the other half go to Douglas. So kindergarten, and then the same thing for first grade. Half of the kids go to one school, the other half go to the other school. We also have preschool, and that's not for everyone. If you want to go to preschool, you have to. There's not everyone can't go to preschool. You have to really qualify for it. And again, that's split between the 2 schools. So right now, the principal, Mrs. Patrick, literally bounces back and forth between those 2 schools, and something that's been talked about for the entire time that I've worked in Clinton, and I've been here for many years. We've talked about combining all the kindergarten, first grade, and preschool together, so they would no longer be separated. Now, we can't put preschool, kindergarten, first grade all in the same building. There's not enough space for that, but what we've been exploring and through a committee was putting the tentative plan was to put all the kindergarten, first grade at Lincoln, and then all the preschool at Douglas.
One of the driving factors behind this change is to allow the district to accept all students in the Clinton district into the pre-K program. According to Goebel, currently you have to qualify to get into the program.
So right now, preschool is you have to qualify. Some people don't get in, just the way it goes. If we expand, number one, there's a preschool for all grant that we'd have to write, and part of in order to get that grant, you have to prove that you have space for it, which we would. If that grant was approved, we would have to hire new staff, and we would be able to expand our preschool. I mean, we have a committee, so we have representation, but then with just like a lot of with any committee, then you reach back out. So we have, not everyone's on the committee, but then the committee reaches out to the other teachers that aren't and gets feedback. And with Google Forms, you can take surveys, and you can kind of get input from different people. I will say, I have had an enormous amount of support from the community, because I live in the community, and I'm out and around, and I have yet to have any person from the community, not a teacher, just someone that sends their kids to the school. Not a single person has. It's been 100% positive.
Goebel indicates the process is moving along enough. They are going to be seeking direction from the Board of Education very soon regarding whether this will be something that happens or gets halted.
So we're going to have to figure out, Stephen Page is a new transportation director, and even Lisa Daniels, she assists Stephen. So the logistics of figuring that out, it's not impossible, but we just can't try to figure that out in August. That's bigger than that. Was brought up at the last restructuring meeting and was asked, is there any insurmountable thing that anyone can see that would keep us from making this happen? No one came up with anything that we couldn't figure out. There's things that we have to figure out, but parking is a good example of something that I feel if we didn't have enough space to park everybody, that would be a deal breaker. We partnered with Hardee's, and we're going to be allowed to park in their parking lot, and we're going to have signs that say Lincoln staff parking only. It's going to be on the south side of the Hardee's lot. And in exchange, the district is advertising for Hardee's on our video boards. So that was kind of an agreement that we have. That item has kind of been checked off. For example, one of the rooms that it air conditioning and heating, we'd need to change that. So that area would be, it currently is just not as, I want everyone to be comfortable. So that would be something that we'd have to change. Right now, we need to create a workroom for teachers and like a lounge, so a wall would be going into an area to kind of create that space, and we would be able to do that in-house.
The changes would be implemented next year if the Board of Education approves moving forward. Coming up shortly on this expanded newscast, Warner Library book sale is this weekend. The city of Clinton recently put a call out for ideas for bands on the downtown square in hopes of revitalizing the entertainment Clinton residents grew accustomed to before COVID. The city coordinated up-and-coming Nashville artists to perform on the square, but like many things, COVID ended that tradition. City Administrator Tony Harris on the WHOW Morning Show Wednesday told the Heart Media Group they want to see those come back.
That's being discussed right now. Helen and we've got two groups going that we're meeting right now with, one being the America 250 group, and that group will meet on Monday night to discuss. It's a group to come up with different plans for the America 250 next year on the 4th of July. So that's one group. And then, yes, the Downtown Business Association, different group that we're meeting. So the concerts on the square is a topic of discussion. And as a matter of fact, I think we put it out on our city Facebook site. We're looking for different bands in the area, and we've got a good response to that. We've got numerous bands identified where
everybody wants to play,
and we just have to decide, how are we going to do this? Are we going to get, a band to come in from Nashville or someplace like that? Or are we going to just, those are costly. Those are very costly. And we've done that a few times. Then maybe, we're going to do something like that. And then scattered in there also some local bands. We're not sure. And that's going to be part of this group to try to figure all this.
According to Harris, a downtown business owners association is starting to take shape. He indicates they have been meeting and are starting to gain some momentum.
Yeah, that's one of the meetings that I talked about. It's just that. It's, business owners on the square getting together just with different ideas of what, what us as the city can help with, and
Sure.
then them as a group, what they want to see happen on the square, all the way from, activities on the square to, funding to fix up buildings and things like that. A lot of different topics are being discussed in that group. Good discussion. We had a meeting last week, and it was some good discussion on plans that they would like to see on the square, and concerts on the square is one of them. This group brought that up. They also brought up, we as a city, we have a what we call a facade grant through the TIF program, TIF 4 in that area. We provide facelifts to buildings, but we don't provide like new windows or roofs that might be leaky, things like that. So there's been some discussion on somehow trying to find a way to fund some of that stuff. And we're again in the very early stages. We only had one meeting, but a lot of good conversation came up in that meeting with different business owners.
Cool. Harris reminds that the 250th committee is meeting next Monday inside the council chambers at City Hall at 6:30 p.m. He says anyone is welcome to come out and help plan Clinton's celebration of America's 250th. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. Let's take a quick break with a word from our sponsors. The biannual book sale at the Warner Library is this Friday and Saturday. The sale takes place on the library's lower level in the Revere Room. Ron Sprigg with the Friends of the Warner Library says they have made changes to the sale hours this year in an effort to allow educators to be able to get to the sale.
Biannual is twice a year, spring and fall. We've diddled with our hours a little bit. The point being, libraries and the Friends of the Libraries loves teachers. We do a great economic good for teachers. I mean, $1 a bag of books. Bring an empty bag, fill it with books. If you're a teacher, it's $1. Teachers were pointing out, how can we teach and go to the book sale with the hours? So on Friday, the 24th of October, our hours will be 9 to 6. So you can teach the little urchins during the daytime and still show up and buy a couple of bags. A lot of people don't realize I have a distant relative that teaches in Maroa, and she's got a terrific young adult library that she buys out of her own pocket. So if the Friends can help with the economics, we're more than happy to do so. So the hours are, again, Friday the 24th from 9 to 6 and Saturday the 25th from 9 to 1. So you've got to, even if you're a teacher, you can still show up and buy books.
Sprigg explains they source the books for the sale from a lot of places, but many of them are donations from families or books from the library that are no longer popular or in good enough condition to be on the shelf.
In the Revere Room, and it'll be just chock-a-block full of books. Several places. The library, has limited shelf space. So if nobody's checked out a book in a long time, it goes to the book sale. Many families, if you've got kids, when they grow up, you're not going to read Green Eggs and Ham again when they're 18 years old. Donate them to the library so that young mothers with kids can buy them. Many times we will get boxes and boxes of books when people move from town, or if the parents pass away and they're making the house available for sale. What are we going to do with mom and dad's books? Donate them to the library. So we're essentially a recycling mechanism to see to it that books get read.
Money raised from the book sale goes to various projects around the library. Sprigg points to the new pavilion as a recent example, and adult program coordinator with the Warner Library, Emily Dunham, says they are a big supporter of the Summer Reading Club.
Various projects, the new pavilion that is great. We had the Monarch Festival last month, and it rained, but we carried on under the pavilion, and it was wonderful. We supply, the Friends has established an ASL club, sign language, and we supply snacks and goodies and whatever to the people that are doing the ASL signing for that. We have various and sundry children's events, and we buy snacks and goodies. And if Bobby, the library director, says, it would be a nice idea if the Friends helped us with and she will suggest projects. So we work very closely with the library.
They make donations to us for summer reading, and honestly throughout the year they help us with programming. So if we're trying to do something that's a little bit out of our budget, we'll talk to the friends. Mel will usually go to a meeting and kind of present our idea, and then they talk it over, and then they almost always say yes, and they'll send us some funds, or they'll actually buy some of the supplies that we need. And something else I wanted to mention is that you can always, even if you can't make it to the book sale, when you first walk into the library doors, there's like a little mini library that you can shop at the bottom of the stairs, and that's all Friends of the Library books too. So that's where you can still find those 50-cent and $1 books right there anytime.
The book sale takes place this Friday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the Revere Room at the Warner Library. Learn more about the fundraiser by visiting vwarner.org or by finding the Warner Library on Facebook and Instagram. You're listening to WHOW and the WHOW Morning Show. Again, let's take that quick break with our word from our sponsors.
Experience the power of better connection with Connexus Fiber Internet. Connexus delivers ultra-fast, reliable speeds to keep you connected at the speed of life. Whether you're working from home, streaming your favorite shows, or gaming with your friends, Connexus has you covered. Say goodbye to buffering and dropped calls and say hello to fiber fast internet. Ready to upgrade your connection? Sign up today by clicking the Connexus icon at DeWittDailyNews.com. Nothing connects us like Connexus.
Closeout time is here for a new Chevrolet. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton and Farmer City. Yes, we have a good selection of 25 Silverados remaining in regular and crew cab models with gas or diesel engines. Some with utility beds and dual roof wheels. Also see our remaining Colorados, Trailblazers, even our full-size Suburban and Tahoes, all priced to move out. See our 25 inventory today at BaumChevyBuick.com, right from the start.
News time is 25 minutes after the top of the hour. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. Proposed legislation by a Central Illinois lawmaker would increase the tax rate for renewable energy projects. State Senator Sally Turner filed the bill she says would ensure renewable energy projects are paying their fair share.
I filed a bill last week, and what that basically does is it increases the base value on the per megawatt on solar and wind. So right now, wind is paying, I believe it's $360,000 per megawatt, and solar is paying $218,000 per megawatt. I believe that's what those numbers were. We've asked to increase the megawatts on those base values. And of course, there's a calculation that's done with that. That's the base value and a trending factor that the Department of Revenue puts on, and a depreciation value. But that will increase the EAV, equalized assessed value, on those wind and solar projects, not on your house. It's those farms.
The Lincoln Republican says renewable energy companies are getting a lot of perks to build these projects and feels taxpayers should have less of a burden on them.
That increases that value so that we as taxpayers would pay less money and have less of the tax burden, that they would have more of the tax burden. Because frankly, they're receiving a lot of the perks from the federal and state government in order to get these private companies up and running and doing their thing, and they're making money. So I believe, and my staff and my team and my constituents believe, that they should be taking more of the burden. Now, well, we have state funds that go toward that too, that help them. Now, a lot of the solars, the federal government's trying to say, okay, we're done with that, and we're going to see that slow down. So a lot of the solar is really trying to push right now to get things done and get new farms up and going. So if they're going to do that, then we want them to pay their fair share.
Senate Bill 2706 has been filed and awaits assignment to a Senate committee for consideration. The weekend before Halloween is always a big one for those in the fall agritourism business, like Jenna Spickle with Jonah Mack Orchard in Malta, Illinois.
Well, it's very important for those of us who have pumpkin patches and apple orchards, as it's kind of the culmination of the fall season. And, a lot of us, we have our season. It goes from either Labor Day weekend to the end of October, or, September to October. And then that's kind of it. That's kind of all a lot of us have. So this weekend is pretty important as it's the last weekend of October. And we are going to add on a bonus weekend this year because Halloween falls on a Friday. So we figured we might as well be open one more weekend, the 1st and 2nd of November. And hopefully that will be one more nice day for us.
Spickle is also chair of the Illinois Specialty Growers Association. Now for your local obituaries. Richard Dwayne Smith, 75, of Baytown, Texas, formerly of Clinton, Illinois, passed away at 12:51 p.m. October 15th at Harbor Hospice House of Houston, Texas. Services will be 11 a.m. Saturday, October 25th at the Calvert Funeral Home in Clinton, with Pastor Ken Graham and Ernie Harvey Jr. officiating. Burial will follow at Oak Park Cemetery in Clinton. Visitation will be 10 to 11 a.m. Saturday at the funeral home. Memorials may be directed to the Lucy Lynn Smith Education Fund. Get news anytime from your computer or your mobile device from DeWitt County's #1 source for news, sports, police blotter, obituaries, and more. It's DeWittDailyNews.com.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. The Trump administration is working hard to make sure the historic peace deal between Israel and Hamas sticks. Secretary of State Rubio is headed to Israel. His visit comes on the heels of Vice President Vance's two-day mission to Israel. Russia's two biggest oil companies are the target of new U.S. sanctions aimed at choking off the funding of Vladimir Putin's war machine. The European Union has also authorized a new round of sanctions against Russia. President Trump dispatched to enforce federal immigration law, and that's being denounced by Democrat politicians, with California Governor Gavin Newsom leading the way.
Time now for a look at sports. I'm Ben Hubbard with this report. An ad hoc committee is preparing to present a bylaws change to the IHSA this winter that would expand the high school football playoffs in Illinois. Monticello Athletic Director Dan Sheehan is the president of the Illinois Athletic Directors Association and explains they have an ad hoc committee that is exploring an expansion of the playoffs.
My proposal, with the proposal that's been put up with members from up north, central Illinois, down south, a couple conferences, coaches do not want to lose a week of football. We're going to have the same start date. We're going to have the same end date. Same state championship. None of that gets changed. We are going to maintain a 9-week regular season, which everybody, coaches across the state, wants to do. The other thing that this proposal does is it allows schools and districts local control, so we can keep the tradition of conferences. The Illini Prairie Conference can stay intact. We don't want to go districts. We don't want to go divisions. We don't want to dictate its schedule. So 9-week regular season, we can keep conferences, and the proposal will expand the playoffs by 128 schools. This will create greater opportunities for teams, cheerleaders, marching bands, communities, and ultimately what it does, in my opinion, is it eliminates the drive for 5, it stabilizes conferences, and encourages schools to potentially schedule a tough opponent. Like, you might be more willing to go outside the box instead of trying to find a way to get 5 wins. Now, if you can get in the playoffs at 3 and 6, you might consider playing somebody that's a class above you, or somebody in the same class that's traditionally really good.
The drive for 5 is the biggest calling card in high school football. At 5 wins, a team qualifies for the postseason. Sheehan indicates, unlike every other sport within IHSA, not all football teams make the postseason.
So some of the things that we've heard statewide, football discussions about how to fix football has been going on for 10 plus years. And some of the things that the drive for 5 is the biggest issue. It's Football in Illinois is special. You have to qualify. There's no doubt about it. Football is the only sport in Illinois that not everybody gets a postseason action. So that's a big deal. And I understand that it's an honor, it's a privilege, you work for it. But unfortunately, with football and the involvement in a community with the marching band, the cheerleaders, the drive for 5 is a big deal because 5 is typically the number that gets you in the playoffs.
According to Sheehan, the restructured playoff would add just one round to the postseason, with the top 16 seeds getting a bye in the first round. Then, instead of having scrimmages for week 0, that would be the beginning of the season.
So the IHSA provided, they did 2 years, 2023 and 2024. They provided brackets of what this would look like. It would be, each class would be increased to 48. So from 32 to 48. And then your top 16 teams would get a bye. So your top 16, so basically in a 3A bracket, which we're very familiar with, your top 8 in the North would get a bye, and the top 8 in the South would get a bye. In 7A and 8A, when they do a 1 through, they would go 1 through 48, the top 16 teams would get a bye. And so I think a lot of people, some of the misconceptions out there is, well, we don't need a 9-0 playing a 3 and 6. Well, if you look at the brackets, if you want to call them a play-in game, you're going to see like the 16 plays in the 17, that's 5-4 versus 5-4. You might get a 13 versus 20 matchup, which is 6-3 versus 3 and 6. So it's not that mixed match. We're not going 9-0 versus 3 and 6 right off the bat. There's that play-in game, very similar to boys basketball, girls basketball, volleyball. There's that what we call in the IHSA in the postseason is your quarterfinal game.
Yeah.
So you're going to have that first round, which would take place week 9, and then the playoffs would begin week 10. So the biggest change in the schedule is we would eliminate scrimmage night. Football games would have to begin on what we know is traditionally week 0.
The playoff expansion would take place next year. Sheehan notes there are a few other proposals out there for playoff expansion. The proposal has been submitted after a process of the proposal's review, and it makes it through that process. The proposal can be in front of IHSA member schools in December for a vote. It's not just the short week that has the LA Chargers and Minnesota Vikings feeling lousy going into their Thursday night showdown, but it certainly starts there. Whoever comes out on top in a showdown of staggered underachievers should certainly be feeling a lot better going into the weekend. The Chargers, who are 4-3, have lost 3 of their past 4 games, in part because of an injury-riddled offensive line. The 3-3 Vikings have already dropped as many games through 7 weeks as they did during the entire 2024 regular season, with iffy quarterback play and health looming large. For Wentz, he has even less time to get his injured left non-throwing shoulder back into game shape. He was hurt in Week 5 in a win at Cleveland, but was able to manage it in a 28-22 loss to Philadelphia on Sunday, throwing for 313 yards with 2 interceptions as the Vikings continue to alternate between victories and defeats. The Chargers will hope to get left tackle Joe Alt back after he missed the past 3 games with a sprained ankle. Right tackle Trey Pipkins III could also return from a 2-game absence with a knee injury, with head coach Jim Harbaugh characterizing the availability of both blockers as a day-of-game decision. The presence of one or both tackles would significantly boost the chances of keeping quarterback Justin Herbert upright and opening holes in the run game for an offense that has been scrambling for cohesion. Offensive coordinator Greg Roman said the swift turnaround from the Bolts' 38-24 loss to Indianapolis means they're planning as if both tackles will not play. The Vikings allowed Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts to post the first perfect passer rating of his career last week, thanks in part to a handful of huge gains between shrewd play calls and star players that caught the Vikings in tough spots at bad times. Hurts had 5 completions greater than 25 yards, including a 79-yard touchdown pass to Devonta Smith. The Vikings, in 3 seasons under defensive coordinator Brian Flores, have fielded one of the most dangerous groups in the league, but despite solid production over 6 games in pass rushing, on third downs and in the red zone, they've only created 7 turnovers, with 5 of those in one game against Cincinnati in Week 3. Last season, the Vikings tied for the league lead with 33 takeaways. The Chargers aren't in much better shape on defense after giving up 30 or more points and 400 yards for the third time in 24 regular season games under coordinator Jesse Minter. Jonathan Taylor rushed for 94 yards and 3 touchdowns as the Colts became the third straight opponent to average at least 5.2 yards per carry. Los Angeles had no takeaways for the 4th time this season. Finding ways to get Justin Jefferson the ball through constant double teams is a weekly challenge for O'Connell and the Vikings, but Wentz has done an effective job of spreading the ball around in his 4 starts, particularly with developing a rhythm with Jordan Addison. Addison has been targeted 26 times in the 3 games since he returned from a suspension, with a career-high 9 catches for 128 yards last week against the Eagles. Chargers outside linebacker Khalil Mack played 12 snaps in his return after missing 4 games because of an elbow injury. That was enough for Mack to pick up a sack and a tackle for loss, but his limited workload also exposed the limitations of the edge defense without the 34-year-old. The feisty Mack wants to play more this week before acknowledging the decision isn't his alone. Get sports anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast. A frost advisory remains in effect. A freeze warning begins at 1 a.m. tomorrow morning. Sunny skies. Today, daytime highs approaching 59. Northwesterly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Clear skies again. Tonight, lows around 31. Hear weather twice an hour or online anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com. Right now, it's 38 degrees.
Mark 30. Mark 15. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
Let's check Ag News on the RFD Radio Network. I'm DeLois Yonke. Big story middle of this week is that the president has responded to calls from farmers and lawmakers to start releasing emergency farm aid even before the end of the government shutdown. Our Washington correspondent Matt Kay reports.
The president directed USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins to immediately free up $3 billion in CCC funds as growers struggle to survive amid Trump's tariff war with China. Rollins was asked on Fox News to confirm the $3 billion figure.
That's right, that we will move out under the current plans, but that is not the plan that we will soon announce under the China compromising our soybean farmers' access.
That plan could amount to $10 billion or more, but it's been held up during the government shutdown. Rollins, meantime, says FSA offices critical to providing farmers access to aid will turn the lights back on.
We announced every one of those offices will open officially this week. The checks will begin to move again.
Carryover funds will go to pay 2 staffers to work at each office 5 days a week. Rollins says the moves come as farmers face mounting bills.
Their rental payments for their land, their mortgage payments on their certain combines, etc. They are not able to make those without these checks coming in.
Soybean growers are losing an estimated $100 an acre based on federal data as China halts more than $12 billion worth, or half of U.S. soybean exports. President Trump hopes to change that when he meets with China's Xi Jinping in another week or so. For the RFD Radio Network, Matt Kay, Washington.
Thanks, Matt. As he mentioned, about 2,100 offices around the country will have 2 people staffing for 5 days per week. And according to the USDA, they will perform normal functions for programs funded by the Commodity Credit Corporation and will accept applications and information related to programs funded by other sources. In a social media post yesterday, Secretary Rollins thanked USDA employees who, quote, continue to work without pay to serve our farmers and ranchers, unquote.
Dry late summer and, for the most part, a dry fall has led once again to low river levels, fourth consecutive year where grain exports have been threatened because of low levels on the lower Mississippi River. Tom Heinold, chief of the Operations Division of U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Rock Island District, told our Jim Taylor the upper channel's lock and dam system is, quote, open for business, unquote, but it's a different story to the south, saying it's not business as usual, saying the loads will have to be a little bit lighter and tows will be smaller to get some of the product farther downstream. 9-foot channels maintained by the lock and dam system for the upper Mississippi. Drought conditions can take a greater toll as you move to the lower half of the river. For the first half of 2025, nearly all the Mississippi River Basin received precipitation above the long-term average. Starting in August, the dry stretch certainly changed conditions on the waterway. And the Illinois Comptroller is warning people of a scam that uses QR codes to send users.
On the hunt for lost ROI? Chart a course and find hidden profit potential with Acuron Corn Herbicide. It's the only herbicide strong enough to bury competing weeds and help you unearth 5 to 15 more bushels per acre. How's that for hidden riches? Uncover the real value of Acuron at acuron-herbicide.com. Acuron is a restricted use pesticide. Always read and follow label instructions.
Disease hit hard this year, huh?
Yeah, Mother Nature threw the kitchen sink at us. Tar spots, southern rust, we had everything.
I didn't know if my fungicide would hold, but Miravis Neo really came through. Even with that dry spell, our yield monitor did not disappoint.
Seriously?
Yep, and with results like this, I'm sticking with it.
No matter what next season brings, protect your ROI with Miravis Neo. Call your retailer to lock in your supply today. Always read and follow label instructions.
With the RFD Ag Market Summary for this Thursday morning, I'm Jim Taylor. Corn, beans, and wheat all steady on Wednesday. December corn, $4.23, down 3 1/4. March corn closing $4.35 3/4, up 2 pennies. May corn up 1 3/4, $4.43 1/2. November beans closing $10.34 3/4, up 4. January beans up 1 1/2, $10.50, and March beans $10.63, up 1/4. December wheat finishing $5.03 3/4, up 3 1/2. March wheat up 3, $5.19 1/2. May wheat $5.30 1/4, up 2 1/2. December bean meal $2.90 even, up 3.10, and December bean oil on Wednesday $50.07, down 58 cents. Current electronic overnight trading: December corn up 2, March corn up 2, and May corn up 1 3/4, $4.45 1/4. November beans in the overnight up 3 1/2. January beans up 4 3/4. March beans $10.68, up a nickel. December wheat in the overnight up a penny. March wheat up 1. May wheat $5.31 1/2, up 1 1/4. Outside markets: January Brent crude oil $62.23, up $1.20 on Wednesday. The December gold contract is up $65.90 this morning, $41.30.30. Livestock trade from Wednesday: October feeders $365.07, down $7.85. November feeder cattle down $9.25 yesterday, $364.22. October
outdoor life, does that change duck hunters' lives in the future?
You know, I think anybody that has exposure to wild waterfowl, and the folks at the Department of Public Health would tell you that they would like to see decreased exposure. There's always the possibility that that virus could infect people. There have been very few people that have been affected, but it is a possibility.
Dr. Mark Ernst, Illinois Department of Agriculture. This is the RFD Livestock Report.
This is early morning weather report for Thursday from meteorologist Paul Otto for the listeners on the RFD radio network. The freeze potential does revisit us again tomorrow morning, but we'll hold off on a hard freeze where temperatures drop to 28 degrees or below for at least an hour until we get to the first week of November on the 5th and the morning of the 6th. That's still 2 weeks away at this point. Today, though, is our only slightly above normal day, as this afternoon temperatures will climb about 3 degrees above normal before then clouds cool us off on Friday. As a next system does start to slowly begin to move our way from the Central Plains, they'll eventually bring rain showers, light rain, to areas south of I-74 for the second half of this coming weekend. In fact, starting about Saturday night once you return home from evening activities, and then rain continues off and on during your Sunday and into early Monday. And then only about a 10-hour break before the next system begins to influence our weather. Tuesday, for sure, will be a weather system that brings rain for everyone, as it will be less selective and bring through about a 6 to 8 hour period of light to moderate precipitation to bring everybody into the normal category for precipitation over this 5-day short range period. Although southwest corner of the state, you'll see above normal rainfall, as you'll not only see steady precipitation from this weekend system, but also the system coming through late Monday night into early Tuesday. Mid-range forecast period for the 29th of October through November the 2nd. We start this period with the latest storm.
Listen on the WHOW platforms on AM, FM, and streamed online this Saturday night from 7 till 9 in the evening for our annual Pigskin Playoff Preview Show. We'll have the first information on what area high school football teams make it and who they'll play, plus live interviews with local coaches. It's all this Saturday night from 7 till 9 in the evening on all of WHOW platforms on AM, FM, and the WHOW mobile app, and video streamed on the DeWittDailyNews.com Facebook page and the WHOW TV YouTube channel.
Hey, what's cooking?
Hey, Jim. What do you think of the selection?
Yeah, well, having a great selection is super important. It's how you stand out. And by broadly accessing the industry's latest genetics and traits, we only recommend the best seed for your fields.
Great. But I was talking about the burgers and dogs.
Oh, yeah, those too.
Talk to your local Cropland retail seed expert today. Cropland Seed, anything but typical.
Closeout time is here for a new Chevrolet. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton and Farmer City. Yes, we have a good selection of 25 Silverados remaining in regular and crew cab models with gas or diesel engines. Some with utility beds and dual roof wheels. Also see our remaining Colorados, Trailblazers, even our full-size Suburban and Tahoes, all priced to move out. See our 25 inventory today at BaumChevyBuick.com, right from the start.
Here's Clinton Save-A-Lot owner Dave Jackson on why you should shop his store.
Well-thought decisions on our pricing and try to make sure that we have the right retail on the right items so that you don't have to go anywhere else. It's just such a fallacy that people think they have to drive out of town and put up with what they have to put up with in these stores, park 2,000 feet from the door and just go through that whole process.
Dave and his staff works hard to save you up to 40% on your food bill every day at your Clinton Save-A-Lot. And as Dave always says,
hope to see you soon.
With the Thursday AM Business Report, Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network. Walmart says it's halting job offers to foreign candidates who need H-1B visas to work in the U.S. The policy change announced this week comes after the Trump administration said it was imposing a $100,000 fee on visas for highly skilled workers. The administration says the fee is intended to curb abuse of the H-1B visa program. Walmart is the largest private sector employer in the U.S. and currently employs more than 2,000 H-1B visa holders. Millions of the poorest Americans will soon be impacted if the government shutdown does not end. Funding for SNAP food assistance may run out soon. The acting administrator of SNAP says the program will not have enough money